2018, and that we are in council chambers, 200 South Street, Morristown, New Jersey. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided according to law by written notice to the Morristown Daily Record, the official newspaper of the town of Morristown, and to the Newark Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago. Notice was also posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall and filed with the office of the town clerk of the town of Morristown. I do further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. Take a roll call. Councilman Armington?
Here.
Councilwoman Davis?
Here.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Here.
Councilman Elms?
Statement that such notice was described by
Thank you. Councilman Iannicone?
Here.
Councilman Silva?
Present.
Council President Foster? Here. Madam President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence, followed by the
Thank you. Councilman Iannicone?
Here.
Councilman Silva?
Present.
Council President Foster? Madam President, you have a quorum.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There are 3 items on the consent agenda this evening. Unless a member of council would like to pull one out for separate consideration, I would ask for a motion to approve.
I will abstain on number 1. I was absent at the last meeting.
All right, I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannicone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva on 2 and 3?
Yes.
Council President Foster?
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. At this time, I'd like to open up the public hearing. If there are any members of the public wishing to be heard, please come before us. 1 second. State your name, your address for the record.
Okay,
and
my
try
name
to
is-
limit your comments to 5 minutes or less.
No problem at all. My name is Beth Wall. I live at 141 Washington Avenue in Morristown.
State your name, your address for the record.
Okay, good evening, council members. Mayor Doherty, Business Administrator Barrick, Town Clerk Kay, sorry. As I said, my name is Beth Wall, and I'm here tonight because I want to express my interest in the position or positions, there's only one that I know of for certain, in opening up on the Zoning Board of Adjustment at the end of the year. Now, it's my understanding that a current alternate will actually fill any vacant spot on the board, and that if appointed, I would likely fill an alternate position, which I wholeheartedly welcome as an opportunity to learn and to gain valuable experience. I am an attorney. I practiced law for approximately 12 years before taking the opportunity almost 4 years ago to stay at home with my son. In that time, I've remained active in the community. One of the first things I was involved in as a new mom was helping to revitalize a defunct local moms club, help get it back up and running. And although we've aged out of it a little bit at this point, I still have contact, and it is still a very successful organization. I, of course, also participate often and volunteer a great deal at my son's preschool, served as class parent. I have also been an active member of the Junior League of Morristown for over a decade, serving on their board of directors as well. However, what has really piqued, probably the position that has really piqued my interest in the Board of Adjustment is my position as president of the Washington Headquarters Neighborhood Association for the last 3 years. I've taken a particular interest in Morristown zoning and land use, specifically because several applications before the board have actually directly involved our Washington headquarters neighborhood, and it's been very eye-opening to be at the receiving end of possibly being directly affected by proposed development in town. So that said, I have an interest in the town's growth and the effect that it will have on our residents, as well as the effect it'll have on the existing zoning and land use regulations going forward. I am a lifetime resident, or lifelong resident of Morris County. My husband and I actually grew up in Mendham. We spent, I would say, a good part of our young adulthood living, working, and playing in Morristown. And then about 5.5 years ago, we bought our first home in Morristown, in Washington headquarters, where we are today. About a year or so after that, we had our son, Braden. And it just so happens that the house we bought is directly across the street from where my mother-in-law used to live as a teenager and young adult with my husband's grandmother. So I have deep roots here in Morristown. I have a great love of Morristown, and I certainly have an invested interest in its growth. I'd like to conclude by letting you all know that over the next couple of months, I'd love to reach out to each of you and see if perhaps we can schedule some one-on-one time together to further discuss my interest in the position and just to get to know you. So please keep an eye on your email, and I thank you very much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
What did you say your address was again?
Oh, sure. 141 Washington Avenue. Thank you. So please keep an eye on your email, and I thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is David Gilliam, 24 Liberty Street, Morristown. I'll make this very short and to the point. I'm asking council to look into your ordinance about the situation of what defines an abandoned vehicle. There is a vehicle sitting in front of 810 Mount Airy Place. It's a box truck, and I even give the license plates. ZTZ.
Wait, I'm sorry, the address of the abandoned vehicle again?
810. It's a two-family home, number 8, number 10 Mount Airy Place in Morristown. That vehicle, license plates number is ZTZ14Z. It is an old U-Haul box truck. I have called the town numerous times, so have the owners of the property, to speak to the police. The police said that the truck is now registered as a residential vehicle. I'm finding it challenging how a truck that was used for commercial use has now been repurposed legally to be a residential vehicle. We have called numerous times because this vehicle has been found in Morris Township on Jersey Avenue. For some reason, Morris Township police could get it off the street. It's been on Linden Street in Morristown, and it's been on Mount Airy for probably the past 5 months. We tried to work through the police system. Their response is that even though the vehicle has a past registration sticker, they can't do anything because it's legally parked. We don't know what's in that truck. We do know that that truck impedes the town from cleaning the streets. We do know that that truck does have clutter and garbage around it. And we also know that that truck hasn't been moved for 5 months, and it's sitting in front of a building. I'm speaking on my behalf because I'm the only house on the corner of Mount Airy and Liberty facing this truck. It impedes individuals who live in the community from parking legally who are residents, and it has not been addressed by the police department based on the fact that they say their ordinances say that they can't do anything. So I'm imploring council, all of you, to look at this particular situation. There are reports made by Calvary Baptist Church. There are reports made by me. I just find it ironic that this individual, because some people said they do know the owner but wouldn't disclose the name, the owner lives in Morris Township because that's where he was initially parking the car on Jersey Avenue, but Morris Township police were able to remove that truck. And now he is parking it on Linden and now, for I said before, Mount Airy for the last 5 months. Reason that it's so close, he's in close proximity. He can walk to his home from either of those streets in Morristown. It has not been moved. We don't know what's in that truck. We don't know what that purpose is used. And I'm pretty liberal about an individual making an income. But we're dealing with a truck that has an April 2017 inspection sticker that has not been moved for 5 months. I'm just asking the council people to look into the ordinance to define what is an abandoned vehicle, number one, if there is such an ordinance. And I'm also asking to determine what would basically be required to enforce these type of rules, because as this town grows with all the development, many people want to come here and move. I have no issue with that. What I do have an issue is with individuals owning 2, 3, or 4 cars and leaving them on the street, trying to figure out when they can fix them or when they can utilize them for any type of commerce or for personal use. So that's my question to the council. That's my request, to look into the ordinances, because this truck should be removed. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the public? Billy?
Because this truck should be removed. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bill Byrne, and I live at 100 Franklin Street, Morristown, New Jersey. And I'm here to talk about tonight is on a lot of the back streets here on Franklin Street. A lot of these cars, motorists, do not stop when there's a sign that says stop for pedestrians when crossing. Well, a lot of these drivers do not stop, and tonight I had my vest on, I had my light on, and I'm saying, like, come on here, you know? I mean, they can't see me. I mean, I had like my vest on, and I had my light on, and you know, it's just something that has to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you. Really?
I had like my vest on, and I had
Any other members of the public?
I had my light on, and you know, it's just something that has to be addressed. Thank you.
Good evening, Keith Hudson, the Vice President of Morristown PBA Local 43, 200 South Street, Morristown, New Jersey. We were before you 2 weeks ago. We thank you for that time. We came before you tonight, and I just want to express our willingness to work with you guys, as well as the mayor and the business administrator in the next coming weeks and months. And we're going to make ourselves available to you as council members, the business administrator, and the mayor. Moving forward, I will provide both business administrator and the mayor with my cell phone number, and I will provide it to either, you know, any one of you six sitting up here tonight as a PBA representative that represents the men and women behind me. I want an open line of communication, and I'd rather not do so every other week in this forum. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm trying to jot down. Thank you. Any other members of the public wishing to be heard on this evening? Okay, seeing none, I'll close the public portion. All right, questions or comments or council responses to any of the members of the public?
I have a question. Maybe you can help me with this. How many days can a car be parked on the street before it's considered abandoned?
I don't have the ordinance in front of me, but I can tell you if the car is registered, it is not deemed to be abandoned because it is a valid working vehicle. So just because somebody has parked it on a public street.
Doesn't have to move?
What if the registration's expired?
My understanding.
If the registration is expired, then yes.
So he
But-
said April 2017.
Okay, well, that's something that I'll have to discuss with the police department. But as far as your question, how long can it stand there? It can stand there as long as it's a valid, registered vehicle that is operable. It's not deemed to be abandoned.
We had an issue similar to this on Flagler Street a while back, and when the police came, they said if you can see that this car has got trash around it and it's clear that this car has been parked there for an extended period of time, then they would either, I guess, alert the people and give them X amount of days before they tow the car, because, you know, it can be a hindrance to the residents in that area.
Right. I don't know the specifics of this particular incident and what police activity has taken place, and if there are any police reports, calls that have come in, and the investigation done by the police department regarding this particular vehicle. But I'll certainly look into that.
Okay.
Also, commercial vehicles cannot be parked overnight on residential streets.
Yeah, because, well, would a U-Haul box truck be?
commercial.
That would be
Yes.
commercial. Okay. All right, so we'll take that away as something that the administration will
Should
look
address.
into, as far as the ordinance, and work with the police department to see what kind of enforcement can be done on that. Any other questions or comments from council members on public comments? All right, moving on to mayor's proclamation and
Well, just let me comment on Mr. Gillum's comments on the car. So I don't think the chief is here.
Yes.
Chief, could you come up for a second?
All right, moving on to,
Just let me comment on Mr. Gillum's comments on the car. So commercial truck, residential street, parked 5 months without moving.
Well, if that is true, I don't, I've known David a really long time. I'm surprised he never called me directly. I mean, I'm a little surprised to hear 5 months. We've had several calls, about Jersey Avenue and trucks. We deal with them right away. To hear that it's been there 5 months and no phone calls, I'm sure it's in violation, and we'll get on it tomorrow.
I'm a little surprised to hear 5
Thank you.
months.
We've had several
Did David leave?
about Jersey Avenue and trucks.
Yeah, he did.
We
All right.
deal with them right away.
Yeah,
To
he
hear that it's been there 5 months and no phone calls, I'm sure it's in
Ready?
violation.
Ready?
We'll get on it.
Before I start proclamation and a couple comments after I read this proclamation, I want everybody to remember Tim Murphy, our former captain of the fire department. He was laid to rest today at St. Margaret's, and he will be sorely missed. He was on the planning board. He was with me on the zoning board years ago. He was a good friend, and he will be missed dearly. He was all Morristown. I guess that's the best way to put it. All Morristown, and we're going to miss him. So just keep him in your thoughts and prayers, and his family. They live on Walker, and we're here to help them whatever they need. And personally, it's a loss personally as a friend, and just wanted everybody to know. And that's it. Todd, you here?
Personally, it's a loss personally as a friend, and just want everybody to know. Okay. Todd, you here?
Todd?
How you doing?
How you doing?
Good.
So this is a proclamation on pancreatic cancer. I'm going to read this into the record, and then you can say a few words.
Okay.
I'll give it to you, okay?
Thank you.
Whereas in 2018, an estimated 55,400 people in the United States will be diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, one of the deadliest cancers, and 44,330 will die from this disease. Whereas pancreatic cancer surpassed breast cancer this year to become the third leading cause of cancer death in the United States, and is projected to become the second leading cause by 2020. Whereas pancreatic cancer is the only major cancer with a 5-year relative survival rate in the single digits, just 9%. And whereas when symptoms of pancreatic cancer present themselves, it is generally late stages. Only 10% of pancreatic cancer patients are diagnosed when the disease is confined to their pancreas. 91% of pancreatic cancer patients die within the first 5 years. And whereas approximately 1,300 deaths will occur in New Jersey in 2018. And whereas pancreatic cancer is the 7th most common cause of cancer-related death in men and women across the world. Whereas there will be an estimated 418,000 new pancreatic cancer case diagnosed globally in by 2020. And whereas the good health and well-being of the residents of Morristown are enhanced as a direct result of increased awareness about pancreatic cancer and research into early detection, causes, and effective treatments. Now therefore, I, Timothy P. Doherty, Mayor of the Town of Morristown, do hereby proclaim November 15, 2018 as World Pancreatic Cancer Day in the Town of Morristown.
Thank you.
Say a few words, Pat?
Sure. Thank you. To the mayor and the council, thank you so much on behalf of the Pancreatic Cancer Action Network. This is the 4th year that I've been here kind of raising awareness for this disease. I lost my father to pancreatic cancer in 2002. And for those of you that know somebody that has been affected by this disease, like all cancers, it's terrible to see someone go through what my father went through and what other people who have been diagnosed with this disease have gone through. I'm waging hope here today because, like I said, I lost my father. Pancreatic cancer is expected to move to the second leading cause of cancer-related death by 2020. 1,300 people in New Jersey alone will die from this disease, and over 44,000 people in the United States will be diagnosed this year and will lose their battle. The mayor said it, the survival rate is just 9%. When my father was diagnosed in 2001, it was 6%. So we haven't made much progress. There are no early detection methods. There's obviously no cure. So we still have a lot of work to do in this regard. I urge people, if you know somebody that's fighting this disease, to go to pancan.org. There are a lot of free resources on there. There's also a helpline, patient support line that can inform you about clinical trials that could save your life. Once again, that's pancan.org. On November 11th of this year, we'll be having a walk, Purple Stride, New Jersey. That's in Parsippany at the Mack Cali Business Campus Complex. Dave Price, the weatherman from Channel 4, is going to be our MC. We have Erin Willett, who was on The Voice. She'll be a guest as well. If you're interested in the event, it's purplestride.org/New Jersey, and you could sign up and register, join us for the walk or the 5K run. Before I go, I just want to thank the mayor, the council. I want to thank Kristen Wedderburn for helping to arrange this, and also by declaring November 15th is World Pancreatic Cancer Day in Morristown. You're really helping make the public aware of this terrible disease. I can't thank you enough for this, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll finish up. Okay, and before I read off the list of past events and upcoming events, police PBA, hold on.
One second.
Hold on, Keith. I want to thank you for coming up and speaking to the administration and the council and your willingness to work with us. We'll be in touch tomorrow.
And I also would like to thank you all for taking the time to come back again to be reasonable and hopefully between the administration, because as you know, it's administration that has to really do the contract negotiations. But we do appreciate you all for coming out to show your support, and I'm sure that the mayor and our business administrator will look forward to working with you guys in the upcoming weeks for your contract. Have a good night.
Contract negotiations, but we do appreciate you all for coming out to show your support, and I'm sure that.
Okay, you ready?
Ready.
Okay, October 10th, there was a rally held for healthcare by NJ Education Association in front of Town Hall. It was well attended. They were protesting for their healthcare. On Friday, October 12th, Morristown had the Festival of Books. For those who went to the Friday night event with John Curry, it was amazing, and the amount of people that came to our downtown for that Festival of Books Saturday, I talked to a few business owners. They had record days with sales. So it was well attended, and the amount of authors and what those women do, and they put together that festival is amazing, and I'm sure they'll be coming looking for some more donations, but they do a heck of a job, and it's a great thing for the town of Morristown. My hat's off to the organizers of Morristown Festival of Books. Soup Kitchen had a hunger walk, 14th. Coffee with a Cop, Chief, Coffee with the Cop at Starbucks, I hear was a great success. Okay, we want to thank you guys for doing that, and I believe you're doing it again. Okay, so that was a huge success. I saw some photos. I was not able to attend, but I hear it was a great event. Grow Green had a pop-up shop on Early Street on the 17th. And Sunday, although there was some miscommunication going back and forth, Councilman Ionicone got on the phone with me early. We got that all settled with the half marathon. Everything seemed to work out fine. It was just a little lack of communication not on our end. You guys, with your subcommittee and your rest, did the right thing. It was all set up right. It was just a little bit of confusion on the parking, and it all worked out fine. They were very happy, so that went off without a hitch. I just left an event at Church of the Redeemer called Nuns on the Bus Tour. And I got to tell you, it is an interesting. They've been from California. They're all over the country, and they're eventually going to end up in Washington. And you should go on the web and read Kevin's article tomorrow. It's a interesting ride they're doing, trying to really unite and get a better understanding of life outside of what's going on in this country, dealing with the whole national sense of politics in this country and taxes and things of that nature. And they're from all over, from Cincinnati, from Iowa, Wisconsin, California, New York. They just were from all over, and each had a vision and a reason for being there, and they spoke about it, and it's a pretty magnificent thing to see. Nuns on a Bus tour. So, and the bus is all signed by people, and they go to all these communities, and it's really cool. Saturday the 27th, mark your calendar, the 76th annual Halloween parade via Morristown Recreation at Lidgerwood Park. That is 10 a.m. That's the 76th annual Halloween parade. At 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you're all invited to Clayton Woods ribbon cutting at 20 Hillcrest. That's 2 p.m. on Saturday. So the morning is the Halloween parade at 10, and 2 p.m. is Clayton Woods. That's on Hillcrest at 2 p.m. On Sunday, mark your calendars, October 28th. For those who have never experienced it, you should come. It's great. Morris Arts Pumpkin Illumination at the Vail Mansion. They carve their pumpkins and put them all around the reflecting pond and light them up, and it really is cool. They do a great job. On Wednesday, the 31st, the annual Morristown Partnership, downtown trick or treat. Come on down, walk around downtown. At 3 o'clock, you'll see the whole town filled with kids from all over the county. All over the county come downtown Morristown to trick and treat at all our stores. They participate in all our businesses. It's a lot of fun. We the business manager and myself, walk the town for a couple hours, and it's amazing to see how many kids, and it's kind of funny too. Of course, then people say, "What are you dressed as, Mayor?"
I was going to say, do you guys dress up?
No, we don't dress up. I should dress up, but I don't. But it's a great event for the downtown. Friday, November 9th, the 87th annual NAACP Freedom Fund Banquet. Defeat Hate Vote. See your clerk for ticket information. That's 6:30 to 10:30, Friday, November 9th. November 11th, I expect to see everybody at Veterans Day services on the Green at 11 a.m. That's November 11th.
It's a Sunday.
Veterans Day services at the Green.
What time?
11 a.m. I think your service is over by then.
Mine starts at 11.
You can have somebody do the other service. No, we understand.
Mine goes from 9 to 2.
Yeah. Monday, the 12th, Town Hall is closed for Veterans Day. And Tuesday, for those who are going, starts the League of Municipalities. I hope you all go. It's great panels. I think the convention's great. You see all kinds of different companies that have all different kinds of wares that work with municipalities. We're still searching for the one with the sidewalks. But they have some great panels down there. You really get to see some and hear some great stuff that's going on in other communities in the state. So it's recommended that you attend the League of Municipalities. I'll be there. The business administrator will be here. The town attorney will be there. Some of the council members going? Some of the council members are going, so come on down. Friday, November 16th, 10 a.m., the 16th, Friday, Community Food Bank turkey distribution. Town is a drop-off pickup point for Community Food Bank to distribute turkeys to local organizations, not individual, local organizations that they can distribute to those in need. So if you have a local organization that wants to distribute turkeys, Community Food Bank is who you get in touch with. I guess you can call our office. We can give you the number. We were here that day. They were giving out a lot of turkeys. So it's a lot of organizations come and get turkeys and give it out to the people who need them. On that note, I think that's it. The only other thing was I know the chief of the fire department's in the back, and it was a somber day. But they really gave their former captain a heck of a send-off, and it's something I'll always remember. On that note, that is it.
Mayor, I just have two things to ask about the Morris Arts Pumpkin Illumination. What time is that, and is it just, is there a time given? 6 p.m.?
Pumpkin illumination is 5 p.m.
Oh, it's 5?
Yeah, that's Sunday, 5 p.m.
And then also, I know that we don't want to be partisan here, but November 6th is Election Day. So just as a reminder to everybody here to make sure that that's your chance to
Oh, yeah.
be heard. And is Town Hall closed or?
Town hall's closed, but it's a voting
Okay, so-
district, so it'll be open for voting.
So
But
that,
the-
I would just add that to your list of
Sure.
dates as
Yeah.
a important day.
Yeah, it's a very important day in my family. That's all I'm saying about that. Better vote. Well, I don't miss voting. That's for sure. I don't think I've missed a very, very long time. But thank you, Councilwoman. That is very important. I'm sure Kevin will have it blasted all over us. Don't forget to vote on November 6th. Before. What?
That's for sure. I don't think I've missed.
Okay, moving on to council liaison reports.
But thank you, Councilwoman. That is.
Parking Authority met on October 16th. Parking Authority actually presented also to the Board of Adjustment on some of the processes. The Lot 10 presentation that we've been anticipating here at the council has been somewhat delayed. They're actually doing some inquiries as to how they possibly could reposition the parking garage on Lot 10 to facilitate more open space and better access to the garage. So we should all stay patient. We will be seeing those plans shortly, and we will be doing those community plans that we had mentioned that we would be doing and working with the town planner. So that's all going to be forthcoming. Also on the 16th, the MPA Board of Commissioners also approved the collective bargaining agreement with Locals 108, which is the collective bargaining agreement for the workers out on the streets and in the garages for the MPA. Also, if it's okay with you, Madam President, can I do the new item that's at the end of the agenda?
Oh, it's in
Because I can
regards
do it
to
real
your-
quickly.
yeah.
I can do it real quickly.
Yeah, sure.
I think in the role as parking liaison, what I'm going to do is work with Mike Fabrizio and some other folks in town, just to get the paperwork process a little bit clearer for the requests for spaces to the MPA. So I'll be putting that group together and.
So you'll be
work
heading
with
that?
the town. Yeah, I'll take
Okay.
care of that. Okay?
Here's just a question. Are you suggesting a sort of something that would eventually go to a parking checklist
Yes.
for the Board of Adjustment and Planning Board? Okay.
Yeah,
Just volunteer to help me.
just wanted the council to remember that boards are autonomous and that you can't control if they waive certain things, which is parking. So just be aware of it. Correct, Counselor?
The council remember that boards are autonomous.
Any other council liaison reports?
Yesterday was a housing authority meeting. They're still waiting to hear back on whether or not they'll get the project-based Section 8 to help, fix up the housing authority buildings. This new director is pretty awesome, so there's really no trouble at all. That's all.
Whether or not they'll get the project based.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's on top of everything.
I was there also with the councilwoman. Even board members, all of them were saying even the residents are all saying the whole feel, the whole atmosphere, everything's
I
changing.
hear he's out on the ground running.
He is.
So
It's
he's
amazing.
He's hands-on, so that's good to hear.
Yep.
And I run into people all the time, and I just periodically ask, even like church members, how do you feel about the new executive director? And it's been all positive. I haven't heard anything negative yet. So it's good. All righty. Moving on to calendar of events. Are there any council members that want to make us aware of any events coming up, other than the mayor's announcements? Okay, moving on to regular business. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, I tried to sneak in one more step. We have 3 ordinances for introduction this evening. First one is ordinance number O-35-2018, an ordinance amending and supplementing Chapter 30 of the Land Use Code adopted by the Town Council of the Town of Morristown on July 10th, 2018. We have a motion to introduce.
I'd like to make a motion to introduce.
I'll second.
Okay, I will take a roll.
Just as a point, so the information that is being modified is mostly procedural clarification. It's heavy stuff or rough reading, but if you want to say it like that way, I did get a chance to go through everything since I'm the liaison to the planning board and asked some questions to the planning division, and they got back to me to my satisfaction. So I'm comfortable with the changes.
Thank you, Councilman.
Any other questions or comments from council members?
Okay. On the introduction of O-35-2018, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb.
Yes.
Councilman Elms.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Foster.
Yes.
Ordinance O-35-2018 has been properly introduced by title and will be considered further during a public hearing scheduled for November 20th. Next, we have ordinance number O-36-2018, an ordinance amending and supplementing the code of the town of Morristown, Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 7-40.2, handicap parking on streets for private residences, to amend the placard number assigned to a dedicated parking space for a resident on Columbus Street. Can I have a motion to introduce, please?
I'll make a motion to introduce.
I'll second.
Any comments or questions from council members? Seeing none, call the question.
Okay, on the introduction of 36-18, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb.
Yes.
Councilman Elms.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Foster.
Yes.
Ordinance O-36-18 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further during a public hearing scheduled for November 20th. Ordinance number O-37-2018, ordinance rescinding ordinance O-1-2006 and deleting a designated handicap parking space on Oliphant Drive from section 7-40.2 of the code of the town of Morristown. Can I have a motion to introduce?
I'd like to make a motion to introduce.
I'll second.
Any comments, questions from council members? Seeing none, call the question.
Okay, and on the introduction of 37-2018, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb.
Yes.
Councilman Elms.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
Council President Foster.
Yes.
Ordinance O-37-2018 has been introduced properly by title and will be considered further during a public hearing on November 20th. We have one ordinance for adoption this evening, ordinance number O-34-2018, an ordinance of the town of Morristown in the county of Morris, state of New Jersey, establishing compensation for certain officers and employees of the town of Morristown. Can I have a motion to adopt?
I'll make a motion to adopt.
I'll second.
I'd like to open up the public hearing at this time for ordinance number O-34-2018. If there are any members of the public wishing to be heard on this ordinance, please come before us. Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. Any questions or comments from council members?
At this time for ordinance number
Seeing none, close the
2018.
comments from council members, and you can call the question.
On the adoption of O-34-2018, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb.
Yes.
Councilman Elms.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva. And
Yes.
Council President Foster.
Yes.
Ordinance O-34-2018 is adopted. We have 3 resolutions on the agenda this evening. Unless a member of council would like to pull one or several out for separate consideration, I would ask for a motion to adopt them en masse.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt en masse.
I'll second.
Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Elms?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Foster?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Just have a question about R-193 with the bus stops on Route 202. Are we going to notify the residents that live there as to, you know, the creation and perhaps the disruption with traffic?
This is actually an existing bus stop, and we're simply passing a resolution to affirm that the bus stops exist. Part of the process with repaving 202 is the striping, and the state had asked for confirmation of all of the bus stops that need to be restriped. And we discovered that there was not sufficient backup for the specific bus stop that already exists, so this simply ratifies the bus stop's existence.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You know, and I also think it shouldn't go without saying, you know, reviewed the best practices inventory. It actually speaks very well for the town. Again, I know the mayor was talking about accreditation for the police department, and this is kind of very similar to accreditation survey, and I think you guys should be commended on your performance with that inventory.
Okay, hold that.
And I have a,
Get that captured. Get it on a thing.
I have a question on that too.
Thank you, Mr. Anicone.
On the best practice, one of the questions, within the past year, has the municipality governing body assessed the authority for authorities it has created to ascertain whether they continue to serve the public interest and are more efficient than other means for providing the same services and for financing public facilities? Is that something that is considered important to do, and it is any plan to do in the future?
It is considered important to do, and it's something we definitely plan on doing in the future. It's something we've discussed with the Parking Authority, as well as just doing an annual evaluation, and something that we certainly plan on doing. For purposes of the questionnaire, you would have to have an agenda item that you could demonstrate was already had already occurred, which is why we weren't able to answer in the affirmative. However, we do plan on making sure that happens in the coming year.
For purposes of the questionnaire, you have to have an agenda item.
All right, we have no old business. Moving on to new business. Starting with visitor parking permits.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's clear.
I will start, and the business administrator can certainly jump in with your questions. As you know, I did meet in small groups with members of council to go over a proposal on visitor parking in town. There have been several issues, and when I spoke to each council person, everybody had their story to tell. So I put together the memo that explained what the clerk's office is proposing. I included pictures of different tags that we're recommending, as well as a red line ordinance that our assistant municipal attorney helped me with. And the purpose of it being on the agenda this evening is just to give the council the opportunity to provide comments on what was prepared in public forum.
And if I may piggyback, over the years that I've been here so far, there have been a lot of feedback regarding residential parking process as well as visitor parking. Myself, along with the clerk's office, chose to tackle the visitors parking first, partly because it's a little more straightforward and is something that can be applied universally across town. Our primary goal is to remove the current parking permits, which are fraught with some abuse and I'll call it counterfeiting. They're very easily photocopied at Staples, and I've certainly seen my share of photocopy visitors permits that have popped up over the years, which then lends itself to abuse, particularly in neighborhoods that are close to the train station and other places that are attractive for people to park that may not live here legitimately. So the idea is to produce and distribute visitors parking permits that are, one, more durable, and two, less fraught for abuse and counterfeiting, as well as to simply make sure that visitors parking are in the hands of people who are entitled to visitors parking, which is residents that live here and are really the ones that need the visitors parking and are not folks that either may have lived here at one time and simply kept the visitors pass because it was convenient, or somebody that may have photocopied a visitors pass and wanted to use it. So and in producing this sort of new pass, we took the time to really review the ordinance to make sure that it's appropriate given what we think our parking needs are for visitors in town, as well as to ensure that the process is something that is as easy as possible for residents. So the intent is really to tie the Visitors Pass program with residential parking permits, and I expect that we'll tackle the broader sort of residential parking permit process over the next several months into the next renewal period at the end of next year.
The Visitors Pass program with residential parking permits.
I actually distributed this along several of the people whose streets and whose residents are going to be affected next to the hospital, down in Franklin Corners, those neighborhoods. And actually, there was no strong objection. from anybody. There was no strong objection. In fact, there was a understanding, just like you just articulated, as to the motivations behind modifying the ordinances. Just a few of their concerns that came up. Basically, you get one for free and then $1 for every guest pass. That's fine. No one actually thought that, and they understood the ability to be able to control and be able to date it and actually put it on, so it's a very specific pass for that day. What their concern was is every once in a while you're going to have that group event. You have that regular poker game, you've got that regular book club, whatever, that comes over the house. It could get expensive. So could there be some kind of notification process where you let the police department or let somebody know I'm going to be having an event, or I have a regular poker game every Wednesday night, I'm going to see 6, 7 cars out there, maybe some latitude. And again, I think that's the nature of our town. Our nature of our town is you need something, ask for it, we'll work with you. So that was one concern that came up. The other concern that came up is just every once in a while, for example, it really came up in the context of caregivers. With some of our senior folks, where they have a regular caregiver coming to the home, parking in the front on a regular day. And again, low-wage people, $1, could add up, $365 if the caregivers come to the house every day. So if there could be some kind of carve-out also for that regular person, maybe even some kind of special decal other than a guest decal that you can come, request, explain why you need it, and then maybe get that kind of pass. And so that was another comment that I had gotten. That was actually it.
Those are great. I appreciate that feedback, and the caregiver, I think that's very simply addressed. I'm sure we can add a provision for an additional pass upon request, and come up with a process for that.
And sometimes in that particular case, there was 2 of those, and one of it was a daughter who was coming over to check on her mom every day for a few hours every day. It was that kind of stuff.
Sure. I think that's something that we can reasonably accommodate. And then, as far as like the poker game, book club, mommy me group or whatever, we can try to address that as well, as on an as-needed basis. I know even now when people have special events, typically there's a phone call that's made to either my office, the police department directly, hey, I'm having a 50th birthday party, and we certainly provide accommodations for that. So I'm sure that that's something we can work out.
The only question I have, I guess, is regarding the provision of up to 6 permit stickers for non-residential entities, essentially businesses. Just wondering if it's unrestricted, you get up to 6, or if, most businesses should have their own parking. So is there if they can denote that essentially there's a need for it, or if they don't have parking.
That's related to the residential parking specifically, not really to visitors per se, but to address your question, there is a provision for businesses, particularly on Maple Avenue, that they're on residential streets, but they're commercial businesses. They're provided up to 6 permits. There's really not a whole lot of detail that's required in the ordinance, except that they have to prove that they have a business. We do request documentation, when they request the permits, but there's really not a lot of provisions. That's one of the things that we want to look at when we review the residential visitors, or the residential parking permit ordinance, because that's something that we've dealt with pretty frequently. We've gotten requests for more than 6 permits. We've gotten requests from people on the other end of Maple Avenue, and that's part of the reason why
we'll put that off for next year.
Not quite as easily remedied. We want to really take the time to really consider all of the implications.
So I'd just like to thank the administration and the clerk's office for working on this revamping the ordinance, because I know, and I've even reached out to the mayor and yourself, Jillian, and I think even you, Feej, to try to see what we can do on Willow Street, because, parking was always an issue, and I wasn't aware of making copies of the parking pass.
Some handmade ones too.
Right, because when it was reported, and then they came out, I think the parking authority came out to, mark the vehicle. When they came back to issue the ticket, there was all of a sudden this parking pass there. So I wasn't aware that that's where the parking pass came from. And then it just so happened that I witnessed when I was at the bus stop with my daughter, the young man coming from, and I got word, I mean, I can't prove it, but he lives in Manahan Village, and, they have, restricted parking. So what he does is he parks the Suburban truck on Willow Street because he uses the pass for somebody who lives there, and he rides the bicycle up Willow Street, gets in the truck, leaves the bike parked, and then goes on about his day. And so, and I would have never known that if I wasn't sitting at the bus stop waiting for my daughter's bus to come. So as I'm riding up when the bus came, he's riding down in the truck, but I just saw you come up on the bike.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's an issue, and I mean, it wouldn't be a big concern if we had enough parking spaces, but Willow Street is a dead-end street, and you can't park down in the turnaround. It's a cul-de-sac, and then you have the fire hydrant there, so it does limit, parking for people that actually live there. So I'm glad to see that there's been some work done on this ordinance. So thank you all who had involvement in rewriting that.
Jillian, is this the kind of thing where you can introduce it and then reaffirm it after 6 months if there's a lot of complaints or it's not working?
I think with anything like this, I would expect to tweak it if something comes up. I think the idea with this particularly, and another reason is those old passes have no expiration. So we don't have any idea how many permits are out there or to who.
No, I'm talking about going to the new system, give it 6 months.
Yes, and then
have us
reevaluate it.
reaffirm it.
Yes.
And make it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yes.
Just to see if
Anybody,
people scream, then we'll hear it.
Yeah, exactly. I think that makes complete sense.
I just want to clarify, I did not meet with you, so I think that, I just want to clarify for the record that I didn't meet with the clerk on these restrictions, so I have just learned of it now with all the detail that you provided in this packet. Thank you. And I guess we still have a real problem with Western Avenue and the parking problem that's going on there with regards to congestion and crowdedness. And so I don't know if we can try and work together on coming up with a solution, but I think the resident came to the council a few times over the summer, and there were counts. And,
There's a report provided
Didn't we
to
get a
you.
report from
You did.
the town engineer on
Was a
the
report
counts
provided to you a
and-
few weeks ago. It included parking analysis as well.
Yes.
And what we discovered was that it was not overparked generally.
On
And
Western?
On Western. It was only overparked in the sections where there's meters closer to the county building. But that, based on our ordinance, there's a requirement that you have to have over, I think it's, 65%? It has to be parked at least 65% to even meet the requirement to look at any kind of additional restrictions. And our parking counts found that there were not more than 65% of the parking spaces occupied.
I find that surprising.
I believe it was
'cause
24%.
It's pretty bad.
24%.
Correct. But I think that probably that one
It's-
end that's closer to the county
Right.
is the worst offender, but there are meters down at that end. So there's really not, that already has, some parking
Regulation,
controls in
yes.
place.
Are they going at nighttime, like when it's people are coming back from work and shift work, like 11, and then it interferes with town, people coming to the town because
The ordinance is from 9 to 5, and the counts were done during the day. I think they were also done early, like 7. We did a 7 a.m. count sort of before people leave for work, and then we did a count in the morning and then counts in the afternoon. That's all in the memo that's provided to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think when the person came to the meeting, they were talking about evening. It's difficult to find a spot like that
Well,
time.
if that's the case, we can certainly revisit that for the evening time.
We can what?
Revisit the analysis and look for some counts in the evening.
Yeah, I don't think I got the new report that was issued. I think.
I know Margot has it, so if
Yeah, I
you can
think,
resend it to her, please.
I got it. I don't know if any other council members.
Just resend to the councilwoman,
Yeah.
make sure she has a report.
Well, was it going to be redone? You thought you were going to relook at some of the.
There were recent counts in that report.
I thought you were going to redo it, looking at. I thought when we discussed at the last meeting, after the last meeting, you were going to look at it again and
Well, I think wasn't it like, it was maybe
It was
two?
ongoing.
Yeah, right. And our engineer sent something that outlined the times and the counts. So I guess maybe what you're looking for is something that's going to be more, because you're saying it's more privy to at night, in the evening.
So what I would suggest is, since you haven't seen the report, make sure
No,
we...
I got a copy of it at the last meeting. It was the resident that didn't get a copy that had requested it, and she had been coming to at least 2 or 3 meetings.
Yes.
And I guess she's owed a copy of that report.
Well, she should be on record, correct? She gives her name and address?
Yes. Yes.
So send her a copy of the, send her a
Thank
copy.
you. Thank you.
You know, in the meantime, the 7 a.m. counts usually try to give you your night count, 7 a.m. in the morning, but we can do Anthony, we can do a night count, right? Yeah, we'll do a night count. But usually 7 a.m. gives us what's happening at night, unless they're like me and get up at 5:30 and go to work.
Well, I guess I don't understand that, because if I'm doing shift work and I'm coming back at, say, 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and I can't find a place to park on my street, which I think, if I recall, was the initial complaint or the initial concern, and at 7 a.m., people are leaving to go to work. How is that capturing the problem that I'm having to park at night when you're competing with evening theater, dinner kind of traffic? And since I've been on the council for 11 years, Western Avenue has never been a pleasant place to park. There's been lots of problems with Western Avenue. So in my mind, just quite simply and logically, all I would like to suggest is just residential parking restrictions like we have on other streets. And I think I asked that at previous meetings.
So what we're going to do is we're going to do a night count to get the accurate parking. And also on Western Avenue, you have a whole bunch of multifamilies, a whole bunch of multifamilies, and big houses on the left-hand side as you're going down that house many people in that house. So there could be 6 people in one of those houses, and everyone has a car. So Western Avenue may just not be able to hold all the parking on that street, the amount of people that live on that street. So what the best thing for us to do to start out is to have Anthony and his team do it at night, so we get a real count of what's taking place at 11 o'clock at night. And then if there's something has to be done, then we can get a better look at it. We know at 7, 9, 12, and 5 or 4, there's not an issue. Maybe there's an issue at 11. Let's look at 11, find out, and then get the report back, and we'll deal with it.
Because I don't know if it's the same resident, but I think I remember a resident, and it may be, but I think her complaint also was with the employees that were parking, I guess, taking up parking on.
From the county.
From the county.
Yeah,
I
so
don't
we can
remember it
look into
being
that too,
night.
and that will fall into your residential parking pass.
Yes.
But what's going to happen is you're going to find that you have X amount of residents on Western Avenue, and you just don't have enough space for everybody that's living there. And because a lot of those homes, those big homes that are on the hill, are multifamily now, and they have a lot of residents in them.
Right.
There's a lot of multifamilies.
Right, so even if you have residential restrictions, if there's not enough spaces, then you're not going to be able to solve the issue.
Yeah.
Are multifamily now, and they have a lot of residents in them. And there's a lot of
Just to clarify why the counts were done the way they were done, going by the letter of the ordinance, it states that there's a shortage of parking deemed when you meet these criteria between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., which is why we focused our counts in that time range. As I recall, the request was for resident-only parking, so that's why we structured it in that manner, just going by the letter of the ordinance. We can absolutely take additional counts at night. But again, the second part of determining a shortage of parking is the fact of 25% of those spaces being occupied by non-residents. And to the mayor's point as well, too, during the evening hours, if those spaces are all or mostly occupied by residents of that street, it's really not considered by ordinance a shortage in the parking there.
So Anthony, the ordinance is residential between 9 and 5, 9 a.m. and 5 p.m.?
Exactly.
It doesn't address, for example, the resident-only 4 p.m. to 6 a.m., because we have a few of those streets. And then we have a few streets that are 2-hour parking only, to try to make it available for residents, so.
Yeah, there's all different time
we're-
limits.
So actually taking the mayor's suggestion, it's no problem us breaking away and doing the counts at
No.
different times.
No, that's fine. I just want to clarify why the counts were done the way they were. If you look at, the determining need for resident sticker parking only, it's pretty concise. And it just has the 65% occupation and the 25% by non-residents between the hours of 9 a.m. and 5 p.m., period. So that's why we structured it that way. We'll absolutely take a look, but I go by the letter of the law when I'm having these counts done. So I got something to hang my hat on.
So now hang it on 11 o'clock at night.
Let us know if you want that ordinance changed.
Do you get to put in overtime? Thank you, Anthony. Thank you. Maybe. Let's just see what comes back.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're welcome, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Yep.
And I just have one question for the clerk regarding the scheduled meetings with the planners on the train station.
Yes.
So are you going to let us know?
Yes, as a matter of fact, you are scheduled for the 25th, assuming I can get room space, which I will do first thing tomorrow morning.
So are these meetings with council members and the planners?
Yes.
More than one council member, or
It
are
will
they?
be, there are 3 at one meeting and 2
Okay.
at the other.
Okay.
And then 2 are not available.
Okay.
But I will be contacting you tomorrow.
Okay.
To confirm once I get the room space.
Thank you.
One council member or?
Okay, moving on. So Councilman Iancoln, you don't need to discuss the
No.
item 2.
No, thank you.
Item 3, Councilman Armenting, zoning regulations for medical/recreational use of cannabis.
Yes, so the administration, the mayor in particular, has brought this up on a number of occasions. As I understand it, the state has, or is in the process of increasing the number of dispensaries statewide by 6. Newark has recently passed an ordinance sort of framing the issue, essentially question the zoning of the various business models, essentially within the medicinal marijuana industry. I'm not addressing recreational at this point. Essentially, we're talking about medical marijuana dispensaries where you would go to obtain marijuana, testing facilities where a quality assurance test would be done to looking at contaminants, sort of your sort of light manufacturing where marijuana would be. They take the resin out of it and they make sort of infused candies and baked goods, things like that. And then there's actual grow sites. So I think we need to determine what, if any of these types of businesses could be allowed in Morristown, under what restrictions and where they would need to be from a zoning perspective. So I think that it needs to be addressed, and would like to work with the administration.
Yeah, so I want to just make sure we clarify this, and maybe the legal can clarify it. It's something that all municipalities are talking about, medical marijuana. I'm not talking about recreational. I'm sure that'll be brought up by the state eventually for municipal purposes only. I don't think that what I'm speaking about is that process, the light manufacturing process. What I was talking about, do we want to zone for a dispensary, not be the part where you're taking the tea, whatever it is, out of the, extracting the THC or whatever it is out of it. Not that I would know what that is.
My point is that we should probably not allow that if we don't have designate to a manufacturing district.
Right.
We don't have manufacturing districts.
Right. So here's what I was proposing. What I was proposing is one is get council, the feel of the council. You all represent the town.
what your feelings are about medical marijuana. Do you think it's something that the administration wants to tell our planners to go ahead and look at if you think the community is acceptable to, and I think it is, to medical marijuana, is where would it be zoned? We have to create a zone where we're allowed a dispensary. I'm not talking about, we should not allow the manufacturing, the resin, all that stuff, but distribution, simpler like a pharmacy. People have a medical card. So you have an insurance card, they go and get their prescription, and they leave. They just like, I'm not talking about a storefront either. I think it needs to be, I think the council and the planners need to, Phil's here, he was, have a discussion. Should the planners, would you like to direct us to have the planners look at where it might fit in the zone created just for medical marijuana distribution? I think maybe the hospital zone. There's maybe an area where you think, I don't think it belongs next to the Revolution Bar.
Right. Correct.
I don't think it belongs to next to Roots. I don't think it belongs next to certain in the central part of our central business. Doesn't mean that there isn't a place for it if we look at it as a group. In a zone, say, in the hospital area, as like a pharmacy. Like you go into your doctor's building, and there may be a pharmacy within that building. Like, they have, X-ray places, they have blood places, they have places that deal with veins in legs. They have all these different things, and maybe one of the buildings in the hospital zone can accommodate a medical marijuana, like a pharmacy. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I don't want anybody to think that this mayor is advocating for, let's go medical marijuana. I think there's medicinal purposes to marijuana. I think there's also a negative side to it with fraud. But I think if it's well regulated and done the right way, it can obviously benefit our society in the medical use. I mean, we've all read and heard enough that there's medicinal purposes for marijuana. I'm not a doctor. I'm not in the medical world. Mr. Iannacone is the CEO of a hospital. I'm sure that he has much more knowledge on the medical marijuana issue. But I'd like the feedback, and I think it's time that the council and the administration work together and not just kick this down the can down the street, because every municipality is dealing with it. The 6 licenses, I think they might have been already put out. We didn't apply for one. I know one town did. They didn't get it. So we can zone for it if we want, and then that will make us, when they release many more licenses for distribution, we could have that, and obviously what comes with that is a tax increase and things like that.
The only other point I'd make is if we don't zone for it, then essentially it would come before us, such as a brewery, go to the Board of Adjustment, and sort of fall prey to public opinion, which can benefit or detriment.
Yeah,
I am interested. I saw what they did down in Newark, and I think everybody's drafting their zoning component, understanding that it's going to be medical at first, but it eventually is going to evolve to maybe, with a strong possibility of including recreational.
But we can pass that where it doesn't allow it, right, Councilor? We can pass that where it doesn't allow recreational.
We did already? No.
No, we can.
Good. Well, that's the point. It's actually making that decision. I think where Stefan's going with this is, let's have a little foresight and have a discussion. Maybe you put a group together to kind of start planning it, and because it is going to become. But even look at the medical cards. The medical cards in the last 3 months have went from 17,000 to 32,000.
Yes.
So, and you do go out to Colorado, you go out to California. There's a lot of people with cards out there. So it's big business. It's going to be big business. So I think you're right. I think it does, but medical is different from recreational.
Sure.
Medical, people rely on it. It's an important part of their treatment for a lot of people. So I think that it needs a lot of thought.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I want to really just have the really deep discussion about it, and not just like we throw it out at the council and the public, and it gets, we talk about it internally. I mean, I think that medical marijuana is here, and I think it helps people, and I think it's not like recreational. They take
stuff out of that, of the marijuana to make it the medicinal side of it. I don't know the whole process, but
You don't smoke it anymore.
you don't smoke it, right? So it's, I think it's something that, I'm not going to publicly state where I am recreational-wise. I personally think that marijuana in the stage of recreational can lead to other drugs, that it can be a gateway drug. So I would have probably a pretty strong position on it. However, medical, I do feel that we should have that discussion and figure out, and maybe bring Phil into it and talk about it as a government, how we want to do that in our town if we want to do it. And if so, make sure we put the safeguards in, that it doesn't end up a loophole to get recreation, because I just really want to focus on the medical and keep it medical for now. And so if we can do that, if the council president.
Yeah, well, I guess my question would be, would it benefit us as a council and maybe a benefit to the public if we can get?
You want some samples?
Oh my goodness, Mayor.
I thought that's where she was.
If we can get somebody like a medical expert to kind of speak to us about the purpose of, like, why they recommend like medical.
I think there's enough research out there. I've been in panels down in Atlantic City on this issue, and I've heard from doctors. You can start bringing in doctors that will tell you it's the best things, and I can tell you what will happen after that. You'll bring people in that'll be on the other side of the aisle.
It's really not our decision either.
It's not.
It's really, I think the issue is.
I would not
so-
recommend going down that road. But.
Council President, so go ahead.
Well, I think the issue is there's a lot of information that I think that we can get on the medical and stuff.
Well, that's
but
what I would be
I think
interested in, the
and I
medical
think,
side of it.
I mean, we can talk about that offline, because I think there's some
No, I
great
wasn't saying
websites.
have a council meeting about it. I was saying just independently if there's.
But I think the issue is the zoning. So for example, do we want shops and dispensaries all over town? And like the mayor said, do we want to contain them so that they're not next to certain places of business? And I can tell you, when I went into the city once this summer to see a play, and I was walking along Broadway to get to the play, there were all these trucks, food trucks, that were dispensing marijuana in the form of like gummy bears or candies, and so the first thought I had, and I told the mayor this, and I shared this observation with him, is that we would have like food trucks along the green with or along the avenue that would be dispensing it, because it's obviously a low cost of entry business, because you don't have rent, or you have the truck. And so I think the idea is, and that's just one very vivid, gross example, is just to contain them.
If you don't have zoning, if you don't provide an opportunity or a place for them, then they're at the behest of the loopholes in the law. Council President, with your support, I'd like to recommend a council committee that could work with the administration and the planning division. I'd be happy to work on it.
I'd love to work on it.
And it makes sense what Mayor was saying, that if it's medical, has to be zoned in a place where medical things are going on, with examinations and otherwise it gets crazy. So it makes a lot of sense what he's saying. I'm glad you left. It's good to laugh.
Distributing it through a pharmacy and not taxing it. But don't get me started.
Can you sit on the committee?
Sure.
I'd like to request Councilman Iannico, only because of his rich background in the hospital field.
That's interesting.
So I have Councilman Armington.
Really, it could be the poor police department. Think about it.
Well, the problem is that you don't.
Let's leave the discussion to the plan division
I have Councilman Armington, Councilman Iannicone, and Councilwoman Deeb making up the subcommittee.
Okay. That's fine.
Let's leave the discussion to the plan division. We can't have four.
Can't have four. I have Councilman Armington, Councilman Iannicone, and Council.
I guess we're going to do that one in.
That's all we need.
We can't have four.
it's just a subcommittee, so it's
They
just
can-
really for them to kind of iron out, the details, I guess, with the planner and administration, and then, bring all the information back to us so that we can
Right, ideally,
informed decision on zoning.
Ideally, if the plan division could take the first steps and look at the sort of best practices from zoning medicinal marijuana, restrictions and things like that, and then sit down with the committee and so it's a little more streamlined.
Right, and what we can do for Councilman, what we can do with Councilman Elms, we can have the planner update him. As we're working with the committee, the planner can update him where we're going and what we're doing. Correct, Veej? You can do that? Yes. So the planner, Mike, will update you as we go forward.
Councilman,
Right.
Councilman Elms, we can have the planner update him.
Okay.
As we're working with the committee, the planner can update him where we're
All right, that being said, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Opposed? We're out.
Thank you.
Meeting adjourned. All right, that being said.